Hello and welcome to the September 5th episode of This Week in Kirkland, the official podcast of the City of Kirkland, bringing you timely topics and noteworthy news delivered to you every week. I'm your host, Jim Lopez, one of two deputy city managers here at the city, joined today by two members of our podcast team.
Kate Ryan.
And David Walbrecht.
And thank you very much, David Walbrecht, for doing such a wonderful job while I was back east rooting for the Red Sox, unsuccessfully, of course.
Well, happy to help, Jim. My pleasure and condolences.
Yeah, thank you. And of course, we're joined by our very, very special guest, Councilmember Jon Pascal.
Hey, thank you. It's great to be here.
Well, we're super excited to have you here.
Yes.
We're going to have a lot of fun talking about what it's like being a council member. This is consistent with our Meet the Council video series.
Yeah, that's right.
And we'll have Councilmember Pascal's video in the show notes.
Exactly.
Yes, we're going to have some fun talking about that. But first, before we do, here are the topics we're covering this week.
A few announcements, including a stewardship opportunity with Green Kirkland, a recap of the recent city council meeting, the annual Halloween costume swap.
Oh, that sounds fun.
Yes. And our upcoming senior resource fair.
We've also got info on the Bring Your Own Cup contest, Fall Recycle Right event, tips for Preparedness Month, and some other upcoming events.
Yes. And of course, a reminder that, as always, we have links and more information in the show notes for all of our items, so please take advantage of that wonderful resource. So our big story of the week, City Hall for All, everybody, is next weekend. Holy cow.
It came around so fast.
And that's a big event.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And we could use your help to make it the best City Hall for All ever.
That's right.
There you go.
And we have a jam-packed day. We've mentioned some of this before, but we have our Big Truck Day display, so a showcase of new and old trucks. Check that out. Some fun performances.
Kids' activities, pop-up markets, and more. And it's all free. A lot of fun to be had.
Yeah, and consider volunteering and giving back to our community. There are many positions and shifts available.
That's right, yeah. Although this is a kind of an all hands on deck for city staff, it is such a big event that we really could use some volunteer support. So roles all the way from setup to breakdown to wayfinding to bike valet.
Yeah, that's
which,
right.
hey, we might talk about later.
Yeah, talk about the bike valet. Now, Councilmember Pascal, there is a rumor that the deputy mayor will be performing at City Hall for All.
Oh, man. That sounds, I would love to see that.
Yeah.
You know, did you know that this is scheduled at the same time as the Apple Cup?
Yes.
Yes.
We're
struggling.
I'm struggling with
Well,
which to attend.
We were, so right now, we can't commit to this yet, but we were thinking about actually having the game playing inside in the lobby.
Yes.
Just so
That
folks-
would go a long way to those Huskies and Cougars.
I know, who are otherwise
Yeah.
really torn. So, okay.
Weird, the Jumbotron got hacked.
Jumbotron, our huge...
Gosh, how did it end up on the game?
Our huge portable movie screen will be at City Hall for All.
Batteries, the remote just died too,
Yeah,
so
well,
I guess we're
shoot,
stuck with
okay.
it.
But I think you can come early to City Hall for All and still make the game.
Yeah, I think
think
so.
so.
So anyway, help volunteer and go dogs or cougs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So while we're talking about volunteering, how about considering joining the Green Kirkland Steward team?
Stewards are volunteers who lead other volunteers in forest restoration projects. And there's a 3-part orientation coming up to get you all set up and ready to lead.
Yeah, this is a free program open to all, and you will learn all about and hone skills in urban forestry, habitat restoration, and volunteer management.
Yes. Hey, the most recent meeting of the Kirkland City Council was on Tuesday, September 3rd. Here's what happened. On the business agenda, Council approved some miscellaneous zoning amendments.
They also gave feedback on updates to their policies and procedures.
And note, we previously listed that council would receive an update on the Energy Smart Eastside program. That presentation's actually moved to September 17th meeting.
And prior to the business agenda, Council discussed the preliminary 6-year capital improvement plan. That was really interesting.
Also, the draft housing element of the comprehensive plan.
And a reminder that city council meetings are streamed live on the city's YouTube channel, Facebook page, and the city website. The next city council meeting is September 17th.
Yes, right around the corner. Hey, as Costco's decoration section is quick to remind us, Halloween is just around the corner.
There's like a 12-foot skeleton there or something. I don't know. I was
Costco does Halloween.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, technically they did it back in August. But so if you save last year's costumes, don't throw it away quite yet.
Instead, consider reducing waste and trade it in for a new costume at the much-loved Halloween costume swap happening later this month.
Yeah, we'll be accepting clean and gently used costumes, masks, hats, and accessories during the week of September 23rd to 27th. Then come back on September 28th to pick out a new to you costume.
And if you want to help out on the day of the event, we'll include instructions in the show notes. David, why am I associating Halloween, you, and Robin Hood?
Yes.
Oh.
So unless
Do I have that right?
Yeah. So my childhood Robin Hood
yes.
costume was donated by my mom. Hi,
Yes.
Susan. Avid listener. Along
Nice.
with my dad. Hey Tim. Last year. So
Yes.
unless someone in
Oh,
the
that's
Kirkland
right.
community redonates it, I otherwise don't know where my Robin Hood costume
It's out
is.
in the world,
It's out
bringing
in the
joy.
world.
Yeah.
And justice.
Justice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Forest justice.
Yeah. Speaking
I
up
don't
for
know.
the underdog.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, great stuff. Now, the Kirkland Senior Resource Fair is coming up on September 19th. So don't miss out on free advice. Free advice, great, and help.
That's
Also
right.
great. Yeah. So local agencies will be present to offer information on services like health and wellness, legal services, transportation, senior living options, and much more.
This is a fun and easy opportunity to get answers for adults age 50 and over. It's a free drop-in event at the Peter Kirk Community Center, and no registration is
Yeah,
required.
that's great stuff. Hey, have you entered the BYOC contest? What does BYOC stand for, you ask?
Oh, bring your own cat?
Cat. I'm
Catapult?
I'm not sure about that one.
Maybe a cup.
A cup. There you go.
Okay. Yeah, so this is the final month of the Bring Your Own Cup contest, and we will be announcing the grand prize at the end of the month.
Entering the contest is super easy. The next time you get coffee, bring a clean, reusable cup, take a selfie with your cup, and upload your picture with tagging Eastside BYOC.
Nice.
Yeah. And when you tag Eastside BYOC, you will be entered to win tickets to events, and the grand prize, that's right,
Ooh.
an e-bike.
I don't know if
Oh,
it'll
an
be a
e-bike.
fancy e-bike like Councilmember Pascal's bike,
I mean,
but it might be.
I kind of feel like all e-bikes are a little
Yeah,
fancy.
they're all
Yeah.
I don't know.
They are.
So hey, and bring your own cup, win an e-bike.
Nice.
There you go.
There's incentive there. So, do you still have that paper bag of random electric cords, David?
Yes, I do.
Well, at least you're honest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we've partnered again with Waste Management to host the ever popular Recycle Right event.
Yes. So I've marked my calendar. You should mark yours too, folks. Saturday, October 5th at Lake Washington Institute of Technology from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m.
This is a great chance to get rid of batteries.
Great.
Batteries,
Yes.
right? We blow through them. DVDs, Blu-ray players, if you have those around still, barbecues, bikes, household appliances, or other scrap woods and metals.
Yeah, now if you're a Kirkland resident, there is no cost to recycle any of the accepted items, and you can find a full list of accepted items on our website. That
Yeah,
looks really
yeah.
great.
We got a lot of free opportunities in this
Yeah,
podcast.
that's what we do here.
Yep.
Fun and free. That's our motto. So September is National Preparedness Month, and start a conversation to keep you and your loved ones safe.
That's right. So start a conversation, quote unquote, is actually the theme for this year's Preparedness Month. And it's really easy to start a conversation. You can ask questions like,
Do you know what kinds of hazards are common where you live, work, and travel?
when emergencies strike, how will we stay connected and get information?
Excellent questions.
And do you know where we or our pets will go if we're told to evacuate in an emergency or a disaster?
Yeah, we talk a lot about preparedness, everybody, on the podcast. It's just that important. So go to www.kirklandwa.gov/make a plan for more prompts, resources, and lists.
Yeah, that's right.
Hey, David, a few upcoming events.
That's right. Sea Spot Splash, fan favorite, Saturday, September 7th.
Love that event.
Music treats, vendor booths, and off-leash fun at the event.
Nice.
Nice. Then we've got the Kirkland Cadet Car Show. That's
that's great,
September
Kate.
21. Yeah, up at the Justice Center. Stop by and check out some cars. Admissions is free for spectators.
Also, our leaf blower trade-in. We'll do another one of those September 28th. Trade in your gas leaf blower for a voucher towards an electric leaf blower.
Super cool.
Nice.
I wonder if can you set up an electric leaf blower on the back of an electric bike to get a little bonus boost?
A little boost.
Is that do they
Fully sustainable.
Yeah.
The
Sure.
fully
Yeah, exactly.
sustainable
Yeah.
package.
There you go. Okay. Well,
And that brings us to our 5 over 5. That's 5 questions. It is what is metaphysically certain to be. We've determined. We've run the data.
yeah, it's true.
Over 5 minutes with our special guest, Councilmember Jon Pascal. Welcome.
Yeah, thank you.
We've had a lot of fun in our show prep with Councilmember Pascal.
That's right.
Yep.
You've got some.
We've asked you
you've
a
got
lot
some
of
stories.
questions.
You
You
got
have
some
some
really
fun
fun
stories.
stories.
Yeah, it's fun thinking about, the different things I've experienced.
Yeah. Well, it's
Yeah,
great.
Yeah,
yeah.
we like to ask a lot of questions.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And that first question, Councilmember Pascal, would be a big one. How did you come to the city of Kirkland?
My wife.
Okay.
We have to give a big shout out to Kristen because I know she's a big fan.
Yeah, I think she's one of your biggest listeners.
Awesome.
That's great.
She was living here before, we were married.
Oh, nice.
And,
Okay.
Introduced me to Kirkland a little bit. And I was living in Seattle at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And at that same time, I happened to take a job in Kirkland.
Oh.
My employer was located in Totem Lake. So I was like, wow, the best of both worlds. I can work and I can live
Yes.
Boom.
There we go.
the city. And so just an awesome opportunity. And we rented a apartment in Juanita
Oh,
for
nice.
a number
Okay.
of years
Great.
before we moved up to Finn Hill. So yeah, it was a great kind of introductory to Kirkland.
Oh, so great.
Yeah,
Nice.
that live near your work is kind of a little bit of a signature policy.
Well, I know, and it definitely is, and that's why like having an EV bike and being
Oh.
able to ride to work, and
Love it.
that it just makes that even a better possibility. You never really have to go anywhere.
Now, Councilmember Pascal, were you a transportation engineer at that time?
I was.
Yeah.
I had just graduated from getting a master's in transportation engineering at University of Washington.
Oh,
wow.
nice.
Oh, great.
So I was looking to kind of plant some roots somewhere.
Yes.
Nice.
Yeah.
So your professional life kind of, provided a lot of the impetus for the policies and interests that you espouse as a council member?
Definitely, that's how I found my way
Yeah.
to where I'm at today as transportation policy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But now you weren't always a transportation engineer, were you?
I wasn't.
Tell us about that.
Yeah. I knew that I wanted to do engineering.
Nice.
And then I knew that I really had this love of the outdoors.
Yeah.
And so when I was at the University of Washington as an undergraduate, I was like, there's this great program called forest engineering. I can be an
wow.
engineer and I can be in the forest. Why
Love it.
not?
That's a Venn diagram everyone
Yeah.
loves. Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
connecting a lot of dots. Live where you work.
Yeah.
Work in the forest where you love to be.
Yeah.
Right.
An engineer.
Yeah,
So,
be an engineer.
okay, wow. So that was your major. That's what you studied.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
then-
The forest engineering had a lot of transportation and civil engineering
sure.
part of
Right,
it. So
okay.
I also got exposed to that whole side,
Wow.
but also got exposed to the whole forestry side. So trees and,
Yeah.
tree policy is also a big
Oh,
thing
my
in
goodness.
Kirkland as well.
It's true.
Yes. So
Indeed.
You had good grounding in the
Yes.
the tree policy.
Nice.
So tell us now. So you went to work basically in forest engineering, and you spent a little time in the forest.
I did. I basically was what you would call kind of the person in charge of the forest roads.
Oh,
and so
golly.
kind of maintaining,
Ah.
making sure that they were maintained and that, that the stream crossings, my early work was all about fish passage barriers and
Oh,
removing
interesting.
those along logging roads,
Yeah.
Oh,
designing
cool.
solutions and working with the contractors. And then other times I would go in and because these were working forests, I would survey in a logging road. So I would go out there by myself. I'd be in the woods by myself with my clinometer, my measuring tape, and a compass. And I would lay in these roads. I'd flag them in, and then a few days later, a bulldozer would come and build them.
Oh,
Holy
Wow.
cow. Wow.
Yeah.
Now I know what a clinometer is.
That's just not a common term. You're right. It shows the elevation, making sure
Okay.
I'm not laying in a really steep logging
Okay.
road that a logging truck wouldn't be able to
Oh,
go
yeah.
up.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So it's like a little scope or something like
Yeah.
that. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so that explains.
That was before like all this cool
Yeah, like
technology,
GG.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I will say, I've been on many a forest road in my time hiking. So thank you for
Right.
for your role in
Yeah.
helping me get into the backcountry.
Yeah.
So one morning you woke up in your capacity as a forest engineer, and you got an interesting assignment.
Yeah, well, these being working for a forestry company, you have to wear a lot of different hats
Yeah.
and be able to flex and do different things. Just probably like many employment situations. And one of the things that we did as a forestry company was we wanted to protect our assets, which is our small saplings and trees, because that was the money, right? They
Yeah.
grow into big trees. And one of the problems that we were experiencing was early in the season, after the snow melted, there wasn't a lot of food and the berries weren't growing. So the bears would awake from the hibernation and they would eat the small saplings, the cambium, right behind the bark, and basically kill off a lot of the trees. And
So
that
the bears are eating the trees.
Yeah, and that's a problem for a forest company, right?
Right? Yeah. Oh my gosh. So what did you do? How do you manage that?
Yeah, and by the way, I didn't know that I was getting into this when I accepted the job, but
didn't know about this.
yeah,
Part of
I
this
didn't know
scope of
that
work.
we had a bear feeding program.
Bear feeding program.
Yeah, and we would go out. I would go out with a big bag in the bags loaded in the truck and would go and fill up canisters in the middle of the forest.
Oh my god.
Of like sirloin steaks.
They were just like bear pellets. I don't know what they were made of. They look like dog food,
Bear
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you were basically like bear door dashing.
Yeah.
That is
That's
kind of-
Right. They go out and, hey, is this one empty? Doesn't need to be
wow, and then
refilled.
you fill it up and
Yeah. And, if they were empty, you'd be walking through the forest with bear food and you could
Oh my
hear the
gosh.
bears, like, you
my
couldn't
God.
see them because they were kind of scared of
Yeah.
people.
Sure, yeah.
But you could hear them. They were like, waiting. They're like,
Oh.
okay,
Oh my gosh.
dinner bells.
Yeah.
Here comes
Ding,
John.
ding, ding.
The key there, John, is you don't want to be the dinner.
yeah,
Right.
that's right.
Right.
Well,
Right.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
wild.
So they were
Yeah.
well fed.
Yeah.
So they weren't like super
Yeah.
hungry,
Okay,
right?
okay.
They didn't want to try something new.
Oh, that is just such a great story. So there you are. Like, I hope they gave you some bear spray or something.
Yeah. I had some bear spray. Never had to use it.
But you
that's
could.
good.
But, but to be clear, you couldn't drive the pickup truck, get out of the truck, and dump the food.
No, yeah, because the bears wanted to eat in privacy,
Yeah, of
right?
course.
They don't want to eat along
I mean,
the road.
yeah.
that's generally how I approach my dinners too.
Yeah,
you know, I like
yeah.
it.
So
yeah.
They want
it'd
their
be
space.
a few
Yeah.
hundred yards off the road, and
Wow.
you'd have to hike through the forest to deliver the goods, essentially.
So you're out there by yourself, 100 yards away from your truck.
with your rustling.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
only had to do it a few times because we had a bear feeder. That was their job
Yeah.
to do that.
Wow.
But they take vacations and stuff,
Yeah.
and so I'd have to fill in every now and then.
Wow.
Such
Okay.
a great story. Now your your affinity for bears doesn't actually end there though, because years later, you
Yeah.
the intrepid Pascal
I know.
family went off to Alaska, right?
Well, yeah. Well, so back when I was younger, I saw this documentary called River of Bears that was played on one of the local stations, and you saw like bears catching salmon in their mouth, and I
yeah,
was like,
totally.
wow, I would love to go see that. That sounds awesome. And the Alaska Department of Game actually has a lottery each year. And they give out permits to let people go into what's called McNeil River Bear Sanctuary.
Oh, my
10
goodness.
people a week
Whoa.
for the 3 months of the summer.
Oh my gosh.
And the lottery is very competitive. You have about a 1% chance of getting a permit.
wow.
And so my mom and I had been applying a few years, and finally they sent us a letter and said, "You've been selected." And
Oh
we're
my
like,
goodness.
"Yes,
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
let's go."
Oh my gosh.
And then I'm like, "Where is this place? How do I get there?"
yeah.
Yeah, and so we hired like a bush pilot.
Yeah, I was gonna
and
say,
they float plane and they take you in when on high tide, and they drop you off. They literally don't turn off the engine. They basically take
my
your
goodness.
bags, they throw them on the beach, and then
they're out of there.
and it's like, see you in a week. And there's no way to reach them right after that.
Oh my
my
gosh.
goodness.
So you need to be back there in 7 days for pickup.
Oh, my
Wow.
goodness.
It's
What a
like the
story.
opposite of Uber. I love it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like so wow, so you were up with the bears. Okay.
And these are grizzlies.
Oh,
those are scary.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
Alaskan brown bears, the biggest bears.
Biggest
The biggest
They're
bears.
huge.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
man.
Wow, such great stuff. Oh, okay. So let me jump back. Thank you. That was a lot of fun. So let's go back to the timeline. So you finished up, you pivoted from forest engineering to transportation engineering, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's then when you found employment in Totem Lake.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Well, I kind of just got into transportation. I actually started working for the government early on.
Oh, okay.
King County Department of Transportation. That was kind of
nice.
my first like salaried job, right? Or not hourly.
Yeah.
And working for the DOT there. And, that kind of got me exposed to, hey, this transportation stuff's kind of cool. I want to learn more about it. And that's when I decided to go back for my master's.
Oh, nice. Okay.
To kind of get, a little bit more education and know-how so I could get even a better job.
Sure, sure. And then you come to Kirkland, and now the rest is, the story begins in Kirkland. The rest is history. Here you are on the city council. Tell us, Councilmember Pascal, something that you love about the city of Kirkland.
I really like all the great planning that has gone on over the decades, to where we see kind of the fruits of that labor, whether it's the downtown, the quaint downtown with the waterfront parks, or the different kind of urban nodes across the city.
Yeah.
You think of like Juanita, the kind of the village atmosphere of it and how it's kind of connected to the lake. You have Totem Lake that has kind of all the services and healthcare. You have Bridle Trails that's kind of like the shopping center in the woods.
Yeah.
So there's kind of all these distinct urban kind of villages, as I'd call, that were, intentionally developed around with parks and schools and everything. And it's something unique, I think, that I see in Kirkland as compared to other communities.
Yeah, that's a really great insight.
Yeah.
I like to say that we do planning really well as a city. Like, we have all these plans and we're very plan focused. But what you're talking about is like the manifestation of those plans. It's the plans applied. And we are very deliberate and intentional about where we wanted to grow and how we wanted to grow. That's great.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, Councilmember Pascal, like many of your peers, you've come to the city council via a border commission, right? You came up through the planning commission? Were you also on the transportation commission?
I got my start on the transportation commission. That was when, right after I moved to Kirkland, I was like, I need to volunteer somehow. And, and I saw, one of the postings like, be a commissioner, apply. And I applied, and, it was like a nerve-wracking experience because you get an interview with the city council.
Yeah.
And so that's why I kind of empathize when people come and interview with us, because I remember that first time I was like super nervous. I didn't know what I was going to say.
Yeah.
And so really try to make that kind of a low-key experience because we depend upon these volunteers.
Sure. Yeah. So we're starting our second class of the Kirkland Initiative. I know it's a high priority of the council to make sure that we're getting out there, reaching people that want to be in civic leadership. Not to put you on the spot, but how would you kind of succinctly characterize the difference in the transition from being on a board of commission and being on a council member, and just kind of a general thought about what it's like to be a council member?
I would say the transition is not like hugely significant. I mean, being a council member, there's a lot more responsibilities, obviously, because you're the one that's actually voting and making the final decision. And but on the board and commission, the policy aspect and debate and bringing others along and kind of hearing from one another, that's all very similar.
Sure.
Experience. And so that's why, I really do think that that's a great training ground for someone who might be interested in being a city council member.
That's really great. I mean, we like to say to the students that if you bring your values, your heart, and you just bring your common sense, rely on the staff to get you the information you need, and then your job is to make decisions, work with staff and make decisions. And there's some commonality between the experiences.
And the subjects that we get into are pretty detailed stuff, right, that we do as a city. Some folks, I think it can be quite overwhelming, but that's just kind of the nature of what we do. We have to get involved in all the different aspects that the city does.
Yeah, you definitely have to bring energy to the work. Like, you have to really want to be involved.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the case. So thank you. So, quick question, what are you up to lately?
Well, one of the things that obviously that I bring to the council is around transportation. So one of the big things that I'm thinking about and really trying to advocate for is transportation, traffic safety, active transportation safety.
Sure.
And one of the things that I get to do is I get to sit on the Cooper Jones Active Transportation Safety Council as a member of the Association of Washington Cities. So that's an appointed position.
Wow.
Since as a council member, I'm the only council member on that body, and its sole purpose is to improve safety for active transportation users in Washington State.
And active transportation, just for our listeners, what does that encompass?
Walkers, bikers, people on wheelchairs or rolling, skateboards,
Great.
other kind of non-motorized devices.
Sure.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah.
Well, that's great stuff.
And that committee is named after Cooper Jones, who was tragically killed as a bicyclist. And he was a teenager at the time. And this was probably 15, 20 years ago. And that was created by the state legislature. And I have a similar story. One of my closest friends was tragically killed on a bike about 24 years ago to to the day.
Wow.
Oh, no.
And that's really influenced kind of why I'm passionate about it, also kind of led me into the transportation field and kind of why I am focused on safety, because I've seen kind of how the impacts of something like that on a family, on friends,
goodness,
on myself, that it's hard.
Yeah.
And,
Oh, my
I don't
goodness,
want
yeah.
other people to experience that.
Yeah, of course. It's profound how much the physical infrastructure influences people's behavior. Like if you have easy, safe passage for a bike, it's so much more likely that you're going to use that mode of transportation.
Yeah, I think people gravitate to the things that are easy to use, that are comfortable, where they feel safe, and they're going to be more apt to choose that as a transportation form.
Yeah, it's part of the motivation behind our very first year bike valet program. We've been working with some of our volunteers to do the bike valet, and we have it down by the pump station. We've been doing the Wednesday markets, and it would be really cool to have like a cool economic development, active transportation initiative, to have all our cities have clear bike valets, make it free, easy peasy.
Oh, yeah.
And then clear bike paths and safe passageway to drive around the east side, and maybe even all over the bridge to Seattle.
Well, the bike valet and the bike parking, kind of more broadly, is actually really important, especially as more people shift to electric bikes, because people invest in those. Those are not cheap. Unfortunately, I would like them to be cheap, but they're not. And so you are constantly, as an electric bike owner, thinking about, where am I going to park that? Because I don't want that stolen. I don't want my $2,000 or $1,500 investment stolen. Taken.
Yeah.
Now,
so make it easy. That's the key.
That's right. Now you have there's some active transportation like summit or something coming up. Is that right?
Yeah, the Walk Bike Roll Summit that's being put on by the Cascade Bicycle Club.
Well, tell us about that.
That's next week. It's 2 days,
cool.
Thursday and Friday, down in Tacoma. And basically it's like the who's who of advocates, of elected officials, of agency staff, and then other enthusiasts around. And the theme of the summit is safety for all.
Oh, good.
For all road users. And so it's not just about bikes. It's about those who are walking or rolling as well. And so I get to they invited me to participate on a panel of elected officials to kind of talk about how their community is approaching safety, traffic safety, active transportation safety, and the safe systems approach, which is holistically looking at what we can do to improve safety, not just through projects, but through education, through enforcement of our laws, and so forth.
Yeah, like most things, it's a full system. Like you have to have multiple things working together to get the outcome you want.
Exactly. So I'm looking forward to that.
Wow.
It's going to be a good time.
Well,
Fantastic.
That's just fantastic. Well, thank you so much. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
But we do have one more question.
Last question. Do you have a favorite book or movie or show? What are you watching these days or listening to? Or
Yeah, I was kind of thinking about that because I knew you'd ask this question. I'm kind of catching up with some of the series that I recorded over the summer.
Oh, nice.
And one of the ones is the series of Alone that I've been watching.
I like that show.
And, it kind of goes back to my story of Alaska, being alone and hearing while you're going to sleep, hearing critters outside and making noises. I just find that so fascinating, how it's not the physical difficulties that get people to walk away from that show. It's the mental, being alone and not connected to people. Like that is really fascinating to watch.
That's a great one. Oh my God. Full circle to our conversation.
Yeah.
Great
sure.
stuff. Yeah. Well, Councilmember Pascal, will you stick around for our pop quiz multiple choice trivia?
Do I have to?
I mean,
sure, of course.
Sit there and enjoy the thought process. So we hear you like hiking. So one of these answers is taking a selfie on the summit, while the others have rocks in their shoes. No fun. Which, of course, means we just made them up. So two of them we made up. One of them is the answer. Okay, option A. The longest true hiking trail is the Great Western Loop at 6,875 miles.
That is, if that's true, that's huge.
That is
That
the
is.
longest True
Jeez.
hiking trail.
I've
Option A.
heard of a lot of trails, but Great Western
Great
Loop.
Yeah,
Western Loop. Option B. Red Wing and Vibram both developed thick rubber soles to help workers avoid injury while working on shaking or vibrating machinery.
Oh, okay.
Those are-
Option B. Red Wing and Vibram.
So they started in the industrial environment, not in the outdoor,
Not in the outdoors.
active outdoor environment. Okay.
Option C. Half of your trail mix will be consumed the night before the hike. And we are, of course, looking at David.
Yes.
I can neither confirm nor
yeah.
deny that
These-
I buy an extra
There's a
bag
rumor.
of trail mix.
There's a rumor that trail mix is so viscerally attractive to one of our show hosts
that
that it is largely
it doesn't-
consumed.
It doesn't make it beyond the
Yeah.
preparatory stage.
Yeah.
So you're not one of the folks that just eat the M&Ms. and nothing else.
Oh,
That would be me. That would be me.
No,
that half of the trail
Yeah,
mix is
exactly.
gone.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay. Okay, so drum roll, please. The answer is actually option A.
Oh,
with the loop, huh?
Yeah, the
Wow.
Great Western Loop links together the Pacific Crest Trail, the PNW Trail, and the Continental Divide Trail, and the Grand Enchantment Trail, and the Arizona Trail.
that's a
Oh, wow. Okay.
okay.
That's a lot of trails to be linked together.
Yeah.
Many may argue for the Trans-Canada Trail, but significant parts of the TCT are waterways and designated high-speed highways, and thus disqualify as a true hiking trail.
Okay, we're splitting
We
hairs.
did
on
a lot of
definitions.
research
Wow.
on
Yeah,
this.
yeah.
We've done a lot of research on this.
I love that. Well, did you know the Vibram company was founded in Italy in 1937 by Vitali Brahman? After a hiking accident killed 6 of his friends in 1935, Brahman dedicated himself to creating a safe, modern hiking boot. These were an innovation building on the sturdy but affordable Goodyear welted rubber-soled boots that companies like Red Wing Shoes had created the previous decade.
Wow, very interesting.
Wow.
Indeed.
So thank you so much, Councilmember Pascal, for being on the podcast.
Yes.
You bet. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, we had a lot of fun.
Good. Don't forget to volunteer for City Hall for All.
Oh, that will be fun too.
Yes.
And that does it for this week, my friends. You've been listening to This Week in Kirkland. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Special thanks to Anthony Girardi, Chris Peterson, and Victor Durentes for their behind-the-scenes magic.
Thank you.
Thank
you.
you. Our next episode is September 12th. Until then, everyone,
Stay connected, Kirkland.